can't seem to recall right now, but yeah. And when I was in Mexico, um, I'm tall. I'm 6'3", and but I never have been good at sports. And when I was a kid, because I wasn't good, again the ego thing, I really didn't want to play sports. I was kind of traumatized by the school sporting events where, I was often, one of the last picked. And it was made further embarrassing because I wasn't heavy, I wasn't short, I wasn't particularly slow. Um, I just, I just wasn't good, and I kind of internalized that. But then at around 17, I just decided, fuck it, I'm gonna start playing sports again and enjoying them. And oh man, that's my cat. That sound annoys the hell out of me. But and I just started playing for the pure love of it. And I never would have guessed that I'd really enjoy basketball, but I really enjoyed it. And I probably played better because I enjoyed it, but I wasn't really that good. But I didn't really care. My goal was for the team to win, not for me to win. And yeah, and I was in Mexico. This was when I was in high school. Actually, I went to Mexico with my school for 7 weeks, and some of the Mexican teams there were just, not teams, but just these pickup guys who'd meet at the court and play every day. They were phenomenally good. Now, I'm tall and I'm not that good, but a bunch of the guys we're with were also tall, and they were a lot better than me. And we had about five. We actually had 5 guys there, and they were all pretty athletic, and they were all better than me. And yet we would still get crushed by these Mexican teams, because their passing ability was so. Man, that cat. You hear that? You could just wring his little neck. Anyway, I feel like I'm going a little off on a tangent, so I'm gonna bring this video to a close here. But my point is that it seems like the best things in life are achieved and appreciated when you let yourself go a little bit. Not all the way, because really letting yourself go all the way is it's almost going to bounce back to like extreme closed. Because if you let yourself totally go, totally merge into the experience or the other person or whatever, then you're going to have like an inevitable clenching back reaction when inevitably things don't go the way you wanted them to go, or you feel too vulnerable or too exposed, and then so I think it's a process of gradually opening up to experience and valuing the truth over your own preconceived notions. And yeah, it's kind of beautiful, and it's something I'm striving for. And I'm sure this video has been like 20 minutes. I'm going to have to split it into 2 videos, but you know what? I don't really care about that for myself. I just hope that people watch it and deal with my imperfect self rambling on a bit too long and get some kind of juice, or get the meat, or whatever analogy you want to use, get to the heart of what I'm trying to say and get something out of it. And hopefully, probably some of the YouTube comments I get on these videos hopefully will say what I've said in a rambling 20 minutes much more concisely than I have. Or, give me positive. Oh, I remember the thing I was going to say now. I feel like the best way to achieve this state of kind of like openness, loss of ego, transcendence, like purity of, like, to maintain the ego and whatnot, it's like a lot of work. Kind of like sometimes people like who are into fasting talk about like digestion is a lot of work, and like if you just fast for a while, you're kind of giving your digestive system a rest, and it's not burning that energy, and you can cleanse. Your body can, carry out cleansing procedures on a deeper level than it might be able to normally. Well, I kind of feel like the same thing about maintaining that ego. And but the thing I wanted to say is that I feel like that state is best reached when you're with people who have the same goal. who not necessarily are an embodiment of that, but who have the same goal, who want, like I was telling you about in the online vote chess, where everybody votes on the best move. And our team, other teams would just vote, oh, I think this is best, I'm just going to vote for it, without really much thought, without much consciousness, just kind of like, yeah, this looks best to me. And it was kind of every man for himself, instead of everyone committed to the goal of like the true best, as opposed to their snap decision thought of what the best is. And on internet forums, I notice people are like that a lot. They just kind of want to get their soundbite in. They, not always though, sometimes people will have a discussion to really bring out the truth, instead of being like, I believe this, I believe that, just like butting heads, and, you know, often like making snide comments about the other person, and, you know, sarcastic, you know, biting, you know, remarks towards them. But I feel like, and in my interpersonal connections with my woman, and eventually with my daughter, when she's a little older, and, you know, she really starts to understand language and starts to wonder about abstract concepts and stuff, I think it's just so important to put the emphasis on truth as opposed to being right, and put the emphasis on harmony over being right. I mean, well, truth versus harmony, that's a whole other can of worms I'm not even going to get into right now. But I think often the truth can be harmonious, and if both sides know that the other side is working on the same team as them for the truth and for, you know, cohesion, and ultimately the truth should set you free, so to speak. The truth, because it's a lot easier. Life is easier when you know what's really going on. When you're operating under like lack of understanding, lack of self-understanding, lack of situational understanding, it's very stressful. Yeah, if you're with a group of people or one other person, or even within yourself, and you know that that's really your goal, and you know you're committed to it, and you know you really want to understand and learn and be free, and it's I feel like it releases a big burden from you. And when you're with other people in a safe environment where you know you can say what you want, and people aren't gonna like, people might say you're wrong. See, I feel like a lot of people, myself, you know, my woman, were very sensitive to being told we're wrong, you know, and I think a lot of that is because of the whole attachment to ego, the tyranny of I, which says if you're wrong, that means you suck, and your beliefs, you're totally putting everything together wrong, you're just retarded, whatever, you know, all the way back to like schoolyard taunts, and, you know, your daddy thinking you're you know, telling you you're not smart because whatever. It's just, it's deep. But the way you can transcend that, I feel like, is if you know the other person has your best intentions at heart, the best intentions, kind of like, oh, I forgot, it's some Hindu concept, I think, which means like the best, or Buddhist, whatever, where every action you take should be for the betterment of all beings or whatever, as opposed to just for yourself. Now, that doesn't mean, as opposed to the Christian thing where you're going to the most noble thing is to get yourself killed for everybody else. You know, the goal is, and sometimes you do have to sacrifice temporarily yourself. Sometimes there is going to be only one plate of food, and you're going to have to share half of that food and lose half yourself. But most of the time, I feel like you can give in ways that enrich yourself. There's another quote. Someone on one of the forums I posted had it in their signature.